So Fox News is continuing to do Fox News things. They invited on somebody who worked at the CIA, and they asked this guy questions on foreign policy as if he's just, an objective, neutral expert. I want to go ahead and show you here what this guy says, and this is his so-called expertise. Look at what he's advocating for.
Now, Dan, I also want to get your impact or your perspective on what was going on the Syrian border, because rockets have been flying and, there have been some attacks, and I want to get your perspective on that.
So when the Trump administration launched that lethal strike against Iranian Quds Force commander Qasem Soleimani, we established escalation dominance over Iran. And what we're seeing right now is that doesn't transfer to the new Biden administration. We're seeing Iran testing us by using their proxy militias to launch attacks on our troops in Dar ez-Zor in Syria. Iran wants us out of the region, and that's why they're doing this. And we've gone back now to being in a position where we really need to establish this escalation dominance. And the Biden administration responded with a proportional kinetic strike, which killed reportedly 4 proxy militia members. But at the same time, I don't think that this is the end. I think we're going to continue to see these tit-for-tat attacks again until we establish some sort of a dominant position in this relationship with Iran. And that has to happen concurrently with whatever diplomatic negotiations are taking place. If we're not strong against Iran, there will be no opportunity for diplomacy.
Wow, that is psychopathic. Okay, so let's go through this. I love how he tries to make it sound intellectual, to say, bomb them more, kill more people. He says, the previous administration established escalation dominance. Established escalation dominance is how he's describing the illegal and unconstitutional murdering of a foreign general and military leader. He casually describes it in like a surgical way, as if it's like, this is intellectual. Puts an intellectual veneer over the illegal assassination of a foreign military leader. He established escalation dominance by violating international law and U.S. law and illegally killing and massively escalating with Iran over the killing of Qasem Soleimani. So, notice, he flipped everything on its head. He's like, we killed Qasem Soleimani, so that was good under Trump. Now that these guys are retaliating, the problem is you didn't kill enough of them. You honestly think the more people we kill, the less they're going to want to retaliate? How dumb are you? By the way, ain't no escalation dominance, bitch. As soon as we killed Qasem Soleimani, they were immediately attacked right after. So there were attacks right after. The attacks are continuing now because when you kill the commander, of a hostile military or group of fighters, they don't tend to react kindly to that. So he also goes on to say Iran is attacking us through their proxies. I don't think Iran has direct control of all these various fighting forces, the Shia militias in Iraq, Hezbollah. I don't think they have direct control of all of them. I think that those groups on their own want to attack the United States, and one of the reasons they want to attack the United States is because we killed Qasem Soleimani. I mean, it's amazing. He just gets everything wrong. The causation, it's all wrong. Then, by the way, he admits, he's like, at first he says we need to establish escalation dominance. How? By bombing them. Biden bombed Shia militias, killed 4 people. By the way, it's more than 4 people. There's at least 7 who died, and one of them was a kid, by the way. One of them was a kid. This is according to Syrian media, but hey, I mean, U.S. media is biased in our direction. Syrian media might be biased in the Syrian direction. What do I think the truth is? I don't know, but I tend to think it wasn't just, precision bombings that only killed bad guys or whatever. And by the way, it's illegal that we're there in the first place, so you're not allowed to do those bombings. And we weren't defending from an imminent attack, even though they pretend otherwise and said, oh, they attacked our, a base we had and 0 people died. And those attacks were, again, retaliatory for the Qasem Soleimani thing. So anyway, I digress. Biden killed some of their people, and he bombed them, and this guy's like, see, the problem is you didn't establish escalation dominance enough. You needed to kill more of them, or a more important one of them. This is psycho, man. This is psycho. He's like, we need to be strong. That's what we need to do. So in other words, keep bombing, keep bombing. He's advocating for directly bombing Iran here, basically. What? Biden's already bombed the Shia militias. Biden's already bombed the proxies for Iran. Now you're saying, basically, bomb Iran or kill another top commander, top military leader, or whatever. And then he says, in order to do, that's how you do that concurrently with, peace negotiations. You think somebody's going to be willing to agree to some sort of deal as we are actively murdering some of their top leaders? Does that make it more likely or less likely that there's going to be a peace deal? Of course it makes it less likely. Of course it makes it less likely. But that's the thing. This is all bullshit. This is all CIA bullshit. They just want to overthrow the Iranian government. That's what they want to do. That's what they want to do. So, I mean, we've gone through this a million times, but guys, it was the United States that violated the Iran nuclear agreement. We violated the nuclear agreement. We pulled out of it. We put sanctions on them when all we had to do was not put sanctions on them and give them back their own money. That's all we had to do under the deal. And according to the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran was following the deal perfectly. They weren't violating it. They were doing everything right. And so they followed the deal. We broke the deal. And now what? You think they're going to negotiate with us like we're a good faith partner when we've already proven you can't fucking trust us? Any deal we make is not worth the paper it's fucking written on. And you act like, well, if we, as long as we keep murdering a bunch of them while we're negotiating on peace with them, that'll definitely lead to better outcomes. No, son. The more we attack them, the more we illegally kill them or commanders that are affiliated with them, the more it's going to lead to retaliatory strikes and a backlash effect, of course. And I haven't even mentioned the most obvious point, which is, guys, whether or not you like, dislike, agree, disagree with these people who we're killing, they're the on-the-ground forces against ISIS. Against ISIS. And also, we're illegally occupying Syria. We're jacking their oil. We're doing sanctions out the wazoo for them. You know, we already used a bogus narrative in the first place when we wanted to go in there to topple Assad. There were all these lies and ridiculous claims that have now proven to be false made about him gassing his own civilians, very similar to the weapons of mass destruction thing with Saddam Hussein. So, but this is what they say. This is on Fox News, the most watched news channel in the country. You have a guy from the CIA basically saying we need escalation dominance, which means bomb them more. And then somehow that'll lead to more peace? Nonsense. You just want more war. And you want to overthrow that government and put in a U.S. puppet. Just like what was done with the Shah back in the day. In 1953, we overthrew Mohammad Mossadegh, the democratically elected Iranian leader, and we put the Shah into power because the Shah was willing to work with U.S. businesses and allowed the U.K. and the U.S. to basically take a lot of Iran's oil. So that's what we want to do. We want to have our puppet in there who's kind to the West. And they're going to stop at nothing until they get there. But we're the ones who violated the Iran deal. We're the ones who, killed Qasem Soleimani. And everything that's happening now is retaliation for that. So no, the answer isn't to do more killing. That's obvious. But this is the way this stuff is discussed in discourse in the U.S., and it is beyond toxic.